The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast. Recording this Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. We have a nice show here for you guys. How you guys doing, by the way? Just here chilling and get the screen off there. Oops, my bad. If you're watching the videos, you see what I'm talking about there. But we have a lot to get to on the show today. We're going to obviously review Week 5 in the NFL. Taylor Swift's had a record-setting weekend with her new album coming out. I'll get into that a little bit. Also, the sad news of after 19 years, the splitting up of Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman. And then a strange story from the Sanchez. Remember Mark Sanchez? Remember former New York Jets quarterback? 2 AFC title games, butt fumble, USC quarterback. Well, apparently he's in a lot of trouble. We want to break down that story here on the show. But first, I want to dive into yet another horrible sports weekend for myself. Now, last weekend, obviously the Mets failures last weekend. Florida State's failures as well, and not beating Virginia and making that Canes game a lot bigger than it should have been. And this week was no better. The Giants up, New York Giants had a game where they were up 14-3, I think it was, one point, and then they blew that lead. It's the same thing. By the way, how the hell do you turn the ball over on 5 different possessions? The Giants had no business in losing that game against the Saints on Sunday. That was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So that's part of it. I root for the Dolphins as well, too, here in Miami. They blow a big lead. That was terrible. We'll dive into that in a second. But, of course, the biggest one for me was 2 things. Number one, FSU losing to UM. That made me sad, of course, because it's my favorite rivalry in sports. I'm an FSU fan, of course. But then more than anything else, as a gambler, look, I'm not someone that goes broke for gambling, but I do like a little bit of parlays, and I come in cheap, you know what I mean, in the hopes of hitting big. And I had parlays that were destroyed by upsets that should not have happened in the first place. For example, my first set of parlays I bet on Saturday in college football, where I had a 10-legger where I had Iowa State beating Cincinnati, and they lost Cincinnati. Okay. But the worst one of all was where I bet 2 10-leg parlays. Okay. All money line, all heavy favorites. Okay. And the 9 of the 10 legs all hit. The only leg that didn't get hit was the biggest favorite of all, Penn State. Penn State screwed me royally. I want to say the F word, but I'm trying to not cuss as much. I'm trying not to cuss as much as I used to. My kids keep telling me I cuss too much. My young son keeps telling me, "Oh, Dad, you curse me too much." And I'm going to try to get better at that. But honestly, I don't know. Penn State, and they get upset by 0-4 UCLA on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I have a parlay set where I had another, I think 8-teamer where I had so I had as I told you guys, I don't bet spreads anymore. I stopped betting spreads. So what I did was I bet the Vikings and to win, then the Vikings to cover, but he's down 2 points, thank God. Okay, even though they still covered 3.5 points, they barely did. It's a sweat. But the rest of the games were relatively easy games. I'm thinking it's going to be a cakewalk here. Maybe it's 1-2 sweats there. So I had the Dolphins. I had Dolphins, Bills, Cardinals, Eagles. And by the way, the 1 o'clock games, I'm looking pretty at halftime. All the teams that are ahead, that I bet on were all ahead. Okay, and head big. Eagles, Dolphins, especially. And then those two teams blow it. But in hindsight, I gotta say, I'm kind of glad that happened, because here's why. Had the Eagles and the Dolphins held on, I still had Buffalo and Arizona money line to take care of business. And given how those games went, specifically the Cardinals-Titans game, how that played out and the way they lost that game, I would have been even more pissed off. So, to be honest with you, having the Eagles or Dolphins lose early in the 1 o'clock session was actually good for my mental health, honestly. It really was. So, yeah, that was my weekend in a nutshell. Another shitty sports weekend, but, I sit here and say, I'm done gambling. I'm not going to gamble anymore. Bruh, damn well I'm back. My black ass is back there gambling this weekend again. College football and the NFL. Let's go. Okay? Speaking of college football, I mentioned FSU losing to UM. I've been saying we haven't talked about much college football on the show recently. A lot of it's because of Kyle. Student Game Report we haven't done one yet this year. I'm hoping to get one in the next couple weeks with Kyle. But Kyle honestly been really busy, and with the day job, he has other gigs going on, and so I respect that. Give him space. And I always told him the door's always open. If you want to record a show, we can do it now. But one of the cool things with college football this year I really enjoyed is that I've said that this year has felt, and because of the playoffs too especially, but it's felt wide open. You can make a case for 9 or 10 teams that if they won the national title this year, it would not surprise me. Well, I felt that way before this week. After this week, there's been some separation, really. Okay, I think right now they, in my opinion, and not because the polls tell me this, because what I've seen in my eyes. There were clearly two great teams in college football. They're the two best teams. It's a tier one, and tier one is only two teams. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Miami Hurricanes. The Miami Hurricanes right now, to me, in my opinion, are the best team in college football. Okay, it's between them and Ohio State. What I saw with that team on Saturday, granted, they got a little dicey in the end. They to try to melt the clock in earlier than they probably should have. But in watching this team all year long, and by the way, they've had a rough schedule too. They beat Notre Dame as well. They beat USF when they were playing well. Okay, they beat Florida State now on the road, so they have quality wins to speak on. Okay, and I'm not a Canes fan. I hate the Canes. You guys know this already, but I call spade a spade. This Hurricanes team is really, really good, and the best thing about them also too is the fact the way this team is built. They are built in the trenches. They're not the same old classic flashy Canes teams of yesteryear, that had these phenomenal fast receivers. I'm not saying they don't have fast receivers now, but their strength of that team is in the middle, in the gut, the offensive line, defensive line. Okay, they are built like a Big Ten team, and that is, to me, that's a model that is absolutely sustainable. Okay, that wins national titles for years on end. That's a model that Alabama's used. That's a model that Ohio State still uses. Great SEC teams, great Big Ten teams, classic teams are great in the trenches. So is Miami. They're a problem. Okay, people will say, "Oh, what about Oregon?" I don't believe Oregon. Honestly, Oregon's a good. They're a really good team. They're a really good team. But they'll get in that. They'll get into the playoff. But they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose early. I guarantee they're gonna lose early because you know why? That's what they do. Okay, they are a soft team. Sorry, hate to break it to you. So this is the first week that we got, in my opinion, for me anyway, that we have the separation between the haves and the have-nots, at least in terms of like who are the real national title contenders, like who are the best teams in college football. And to me, it went from having 8 or 9 teams, the Ole Misses, Oregon, Penn State's gone, they're gone, Texas gone. Okay, it's Miami, it's Ohio State. Door closed. End discussion. Anyway, week 5 in the books now. Week 5 in the books in NFL. As I do a week on the show, on the Tuesday show, I always give you my top 5 takeaways from week 1. Number 1. So right now, I'm recording this. It's almost 11 o'clock in the morning. How the fuck does Mike McDaniel have a job still? The Dolphins need to fire him now. They need to fire him and Chris Greer now. Okay, that loss against Carolina and the way they lost, especially too, that's a fireable game. That's a performance where, yeah, this team is not good, and not only not good, they're disconnected, and this is a problem. Okay, they gotta fire Matt McDaniel now. Okay, there's no way that guy should have a job right now at this point. It is ridiculous, and yet as of 11 o'clock this morning, and look, it can still happen, but as of 11 o'clock this morning, he is still with a job. I'm not one to sit and condone firings, and but this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. I don't want to hear anything about Tyreek Hill not playing. Bullshit. You're playing the Carolina Panthers. You're up 17-0. This team is cooked. This team is absolutely cooked. So they need to fire him and fire Chris Greer right now. All right. Number 2. So maybe the Ravens are done? What the fuck was that on Sunday? They got, was it 44-10 boat race by the Houston Texans, who came to the game, I think one of if not the worst offense in all of football. And I understand the Ravens have a lot of injuries. They have a lot of injuries, and I get all that. But my God, you can't put up a fight? Not even a fight? 44-10? Are you kidding me? Now, I still hold out hope. I did my power rankings, on which I appear on the Whole Lot Podcast every week. I'll give a little teaser right now. I went to bed last night with the Ravens in my bottom 5. Okay? And then this morning I changed it because there's still a small chance that Lamar Jackson's back. By the way, you want to know why Lamar Jackson's the best player in football? You want to know why he's the best quarterback in football? Okay? This game proved it. Not because they got blown out, because obviously the defense is bad. But this game, even if they lost this game to Houston, this would have been as bad as a loss with Lamar in there. Okay? So when people doubt me and tell me why Lamar is not the best player in football, games like these are only make that point, drive the point home. Okay? So, yeah. I hold out hope because he could be back as early as this week. They have the Rams this week, then a bye, and then the schedule gets softer. Now, here's the question. Will the Ravens get healthier in time? I still think the 7th seed in the playoffs picture is going to be wide open because I there's a lot of teams that are, like Jaguars are pretty good, and all these teams, Broncos are really good, but for starters, I'm not even certain that the Steelers are that good. I have questions on the Steelers, even though they're 3-1 right now. I still question how good they are. And there's still 2 games on the schedule that the Bolts have to play Pittsburgh this year. So if they win both those games and get hot, that can change things around. So to me, they're not even out of the AFC North race as is, just because of how good they are and the schedule and winning Lamar back and whatnot and every other team around them. The Bengals stink. The Bengals are done. So the Browns. So I can't rule it out just yet. Plus, we just saw last year the Bengals almost make the playoffs last year at the start of the year. What, 0-3, 0-4, and then they were like below 500 for the good third of the year, and then they got red hot. I mean, unless you're believing these teams in the AFC that are doing what they're doing now, you know what I mean? But it's a problem. It's a problem. They gotta get healthy first off. If they're not getting healthy, then they're done. But I think they'll probably get healthier in the next 2 weeks. We'll see. But maybe they are done. But I'm not ready to check mark that just yet fully because I think, like I said, the schedule, the AFC I'm still having belief issues on some of these teams there now ascending. I'm not fully there yet. All right, number 3. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a problem. And yes, I get it. They're winning games close, but these are the games that you're graded by. Can you win games down the stretch and play clutch? By the way, Baker Mayfield is right now the MVP of the NFL right now. Also, Todd Bowles has a great case for Coach of the Year. Okay? This Bucs team, we know, is a solid team. We all said it'd be a 10-win team. Maybe if they get lucky, it'd be 11 wins, but that was their ceiling. Bro, no. This team might get in the 1 seed in the NFC. Okay? Philadelphia's kind of sort of sleepwalking right now. They lost their first game of the year against Denver. Tampa, lost to Philadelphia, but came back late in that game, and they were banked up as well too. Tampa's a problem. I mean, I'm almost ready to put them in a Super Bowl contender now because Baker Mayfield's a gamer. They have great players. They're gonna get healthier. This is all. By the way, Mike Evans still out. You know, there's Ijibba is the kid, the number 2. There's Ijibba's his name is the receiver. Oh no, Ibuka, whatever his name is. Think about the guy from Seattle. They're gonna get healthier. They're gonna get guys back. And now what? So the Bucs are a problem. And I will go ahead and say it. They are a Super Bowl contender. I can see them playing in the title game this year. Okay. I think that race for number 2 in the NFC, we started the year saying Packers were number 2 in the NFC, then went to the Rams last week, and then they pulled up that bullshit against the Niners last week. Maybe it's the Bucs. Who knows? What we do know is the NFC is really tough. All right. Fourth thing here. The Colts win against Vegas, not surprising, but the response and the way they won that game said a lot to me. I said to you guys last week on the podcast that one of my takeaways last week was that in week 4 was that the Colts losing that game to the Rams, they lost that game. The Rams didn't win that game. The Colts lost that game. They made mistakes, but they were in that game. They were competitive all the way through. And then they responded this week in winning in the way you're supposed to against a team that quite frankly stinks now. The Raiders stink. The Raiders are fucking terrible. Okay, that's a lot to me. The AFC right now feels wide open across the board. Like Buffalo lost to New England. You're still a great team, but Buffalo does not. Buffalo, there's a lot of things about Buffalo that still concern me. You know, KC last night. So happened in Jacksonville. Baltimore is right now bottom of the barrel right now currently. So there are in my opinion in the AFC no real runaways. Okay, so the Colts as a contender might be by default at this point. Okay, look, is Buffalo the favorites to win the AFC? Yes. Are they the heavy favorites? I can't say that. Okay, they have Josh Allen, but beyond that, who knows? The Colts, what they do, and I've been saying this since week 1, is sustainable. They run the ball well. Daniel Jones is playing really good football, and he's another one in the MVP discussion, along with Jonathan Taylor. Okay, I think I'm there. I think, and it's by default because of the other things happening in the conference well too. I think I'm there with the Colts that they are a Super Bowl contender now by default. All right, another team here to get one for in the AFC, though, number 5. My 5th takeaway here. Okay, I gotta apologize to the Broncos and Broncos fans. Yeah, you guys are serious. You guys are what 2 ounces from being 5-0. You guys should have beaten the Colts in week 2. Okay, you got the penalty in the game, the penalty on the missed field goal, and you got the Colts got a re-kick and they won the game. The Chargers game, you guys had them dead to rights. You guys be easily 5-0 right now. Okay, I've been apprehensive on buying on the Broncos because I'm not a big Bo Nix guy. Like he's solid, but I'm not there yet with Bo Nix. But yeah, you win in Philadelphia like that, and you have some really quality wins here too, also. And seemingly, and watching it every week, yeah, this is a really good team. Am I ready to go so far as call Super Bowl contender? Actually, probably because they are again look at the scope of the AFC. The Chargers are banged up now. Chargers now lost 2 in a row. Okay, also Chargers are going to lose their running back for a little while, Hampton. Things are getting weird in the AFC, man. Things are very weird in the AFC. So, yeah, that's where I'm at now, week 5. I had a lot more takeaways I could add here, but honestly, it's been a wonky season. My gambling losses only show that, you know. But yeah, it's been a really, really strange NFL year so far. Now, in terms of the baseball playoffs, which is around here, I do love the playoff structure of the baseball playoffs so far, Major League Baseball. You know, obviously a wild card rounds 3 games, division rounds 5 games, then the championship series and World Series 7 games each. I love it. And for some reason this year, the playoffs to me anyway, I don't know what it is, but it's felt more important in ways it has in the past. I don't know. It just feels. I don't know if the structure's changed a little bit. I don't know what's happened, but it just feels important now, even more important than it has in recent years. You know what I mean? I'm not saying ratings ain't better, although ratings are probably a little bit decent now, but it just feels more important. You know, the American League's wide open. You know, you got right now the Yankees and the Phillies in blinking elimination. Phillies in Dodgers series 2-0 Dodgers. They go to Dodger Stadium for game 3 and 4. Okay, up 2-0. I mean, that's, you know, I'm not put the Phillies to bed yet, but damn. The Yankees, meanwhile, got the doors blown off them against the Blue Jays in the first two games. Is Aaron Boone in the hot seat? Who knows? There are expectations when playing or managing a team like the Yankees, who are probably the most popular sports franchise in all sports, American sports. It's a lot going on there. Cubs now, Brewers up 2-0 against the Cubs now in their series. What else am I missing here? You got 2-0 Yankees, down 2-0. Let's just say Blue Jays. Seattle's up 1-0. I think in their series, I believe. I think it's 2-0. 1-0, 2-0. I can't remember exactly what it is. By the way, I went for Seattle to win the whole thing for the Mariners. I love the Cal Raleigh story. Let me see that. Let me actually check to make sure I got that right, because I don't want to say things here out of pocket that makes no sense. So I know Seattle won the other night. Yeah, I think they're up 2-0 actually now. Yeah, let me see that. Seattle. So Seattle won game 2, and then no, it's 1-1. Detroit won game 1. That was the extra innings game. That's right. So it's 1-1. That's probably the best. That's probably the most competitive. That's obviously the most competitive series right now going in the divisional round. Miami for Seattle to win the whole thing. It's been a fun. It's been a fun playoffs. I really enjoyed it. Really have enjoyed it. All right, some music news here. As you know, Taylor Swift's new album came out last week. Life of a Showgirl, released last week, October 3rd, has achieved massive sale figures in its first days. Some of the figures here: first day sales, 2.7 million copies, combining physical and digital downloads, were sold in the U.S. on the first day alone. This figure immediately made it the second largest sales week for any album in the modern era, second only to Adele's 25, which it sold 3.3 million the first week as well. That's fucking amazing, huh? The album instantly became the best-selling album of 2025 based on this first day performance. In terms of vinyls, actually, which I'm a big vinyl guy, of course, it broke the modern era record for the most vinyl albums sold in a single week, with 1.2 vinyl copies sold on its release day. The first week projections, which we'll get later in the week, is on track to achieve an opening week total of between 3 million, 3.5 million, between 3 and 3.5 million equivalent album units. This puts it in the contention to potentially break Adele's first week sales record. And yet, when you hear all the reviews from not just critics, because critics, you give and take, because a lot of those critics also have agendas to be passed too also. But from actual fans and actual Taylor Swift fans, has been very mixed. And in fact, I will actually lean negative, honestly. Now, I've heard only one song on the album. That was the song Wood. That's the one I think it's supposedly about Travis Kelce and, his whatever, his thing. It's not a bad song. It has the intro sounds like a Jackson 5 song. I Want You Back. Like I said, I'm not a Taylor guy. I think she's a nice person. I root for her because she's a nice person. I get people why frustration and people are tired of her and oversaturation, but this is the market. This is the market we're in now. This is what the market is today. You have to be accessible, and people. I think what I don't get with people sometimes is they don't understand why she's as big as she is. Okay, the reason why is because she's relatable. Is that she's not Beyonce, who's not relatable. She's it's the same thing I keep telling you guys why Rihanna is so popular still. Rihanna's relatable to people. Like, what was the thing what was the analogy I used last year on the podcast where I said, like, if you were to smoke weed with someone, who do you think would be smoking? What are the odds you smoking weed with Rihanna versus Beyonce? Rihanna be the one smoking weed with, right? Who is someone you would probably see in a random Target or Walmart right now? Okay, Taylor or Beyonce? It's Taylor. Taylor is much more accessible, relatable. And so while you may not like the content she's putting out there necessarily in the music, people like it. People are responding to that. And that's and that's the bottom line. That's what the market wants. The market is the market. I keep telling you guys, the data is the data. Okay? The data is the data. Okay? You may not like Taylor Swift, but people are buying her records. Okay? That's the bottom line. So you're better off getting out of your feelings about it. Okay? This girl is huge. She's huge. Okay? And I've said it already on record. We've had 3 phenomenons in history of music. We had, obviously, the Beatles. We have Elvis. We have Michael Jackson. Okay? The 3 biggest phenomenons in history of music. Okay? Taylor Swift might be the 4th one. She's checking off all the boxes that require me to say, yes, you are the 4th one. That's simple. That's simple. So, I'm curious how the album sells overall. Will it sell 20 million copies? Will it sell, because yes, the hype is real. There are a lot of people who pre-ordered the album, but is this record sustainable? Because again, the reviews are very negative. I'm mixed at best, but most of them I've seen, and I'm not even trying to find negative ones, but everybody I've seen on TikTok and even my personal friends who love her have not been as enthusiastic about the record as they were about her past records. That's just the reality. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll update and see where she's in sales wise. But I think she'll break Adele's record, to be honest with you, because there's still enough hype. Some sad news in terms of celebrities here, including one I've always loved. Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman have split up. Nicole Kidman filed for divorce from Keith Urban on September 30th, 2025, after 19 years of marriage, citing irreconcilable differences in the court documents. While that is the legal reason, reports from various sources suggest several factors to the split. Number one, distance and busy schedules. The couple was reportedly living apart since the beginning of the summer of 2025 due to the demanding careers. Kidman was filming projects like Practical Magic 2 in London, while Urban was on his High and Live World Tour, which reportedly led to a lack of intimacy and growing apart. Imbalance of career support. Sources indicated also strain over a balance of professional lives. Keith Urban was reportedly used to her being supportive of his career, but she didn't feel the same level of support from him as her own acting career intensified. Now, sources have claimed that Keith Urban was the one who initiated separation, expressing his unhappiness and calling out issues in the marriage, which reportedly blindsided Nicole Kidman. Sources say Kidman did not want this and was trying to save the marriage. There's reports also that Urban had moved on with another woman, which sources close to Kidman did not dispute, though it reportedly left her feeling shocked. Now, in terms of a prenuptial agreement clause, reports suggest also highlight a clause in their prenuptial agreement tied to Urban's sobriety, which entitled him to a large payout for remaining sober throughout the marriage. Sources claim this created tension, with Kidman allegedly feeling furious and betrayed that she would have to pay the sum following the breakdown of the marriage. Sad. I've always been a Nicole Kidman fan. I think she's beautiful. I think she's still aging well. She has some work done, obviously, but she's in the late 50s. It's sad to see that. I hate seeing marriages that last that long. 19 years. My wife made a joke last week. She goes, when I told about the news about this, she's like, because we've been married for 19 years. She's like, together for 19 years rather. She goes, is this a sign? I go, stop. It's not a sign. Stop it. It's sad to see that. And when you have kids involved too, also, and I think the kids are still pretty young. You hate seeing that. But it's a very sad story. It really is. And again, I don't want to sit there and give them a spotlight in that way, because they're the celebrities and people get divorced every day. But I don't like it. I don't like marriages that last that long and when no one's trying to fix it, especially when you invest so much time into it. You invest so much years into it. That's the part that really upsets me as someone who's. I wouldn't go so far as calling myself a hopeless romantic, but I do love romance. I do love relationships. I do love the beauty of relationships and growing in with a couple. It's what I always talk about that with my wife, and how I love being with her and love even through our challenges. I appreciate that because it keeps iron sharpens iron. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad that unfortunately another situation where another divorce. It sucks, but that's reality of today. And that's all. All right, one last thing I got out of here. Shocking story here out of Indianapolis here. So you guys know Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez is the excuse me. He's the former Jets quarterback. Took two AFC title games under Rex Ryan in 2010 and 11, I think it was. He got apparently. So we'll go to the news. Okay. So on Saturday morning at around 12:30 a.m., Sanchez was involved in an altercation in an alley outside of a pub in Indianapolis, where he was scheduled to cover a game for Fox Sports. He was injured in an incident and taken to a nearby hospital. He was reported to be in stable condition. He got stabbed, apparently. The report came in that he was stabbed. Okay, so according to reports and charging documents, Sanchez allegedly confronted a 69-year-old truck driver who was picking up frying oil from a hotel. The dispute was reportedly about the man's parked vehicle. The situation escalated, and it was alleged that Sanchez threw or shoved the man, resulting in a laceration to his face. By the way, I saw a picture of the guy also too, and they look good at all. The truck driver reportedly told investigators he first used pepper spray to defend himself, and when that didn't stop Sanchez, he stabbed him 2 or 3 times. Sanchez suffered several stab wounds to his upper right torso area. By the way, there's the video the TMZ put out this morning. Check it out. Surveillance video of Sanchez walking on the road, struggling, holding his torso when he got stabbed. In terms of charge and legal status, Sanchez, who's 30 years old, was arrested at the hospital for his alleged role in the incident. He was charged with 3 misdemeanors, battery resulting in bodily injury, unauthorized. What's that? Sorry about that. I'm reading it here. Unauthorized. He was charged with misdemeanor, battery, unauthorized entry of motor vehicle, and public intoxication. The man who stabbed Sanchez claimed he acted in self-defense, which police believe was consistent with hotel surveillance video. Now Sanchez was scheduled to serve as an analyst for the Colts and Raiders game on Sunday, but he did not work and was replaced by Brady Quinn. Fox Sports made a statement expressing his gratitude for the doctors and staff and requesting privacy for Sanchez and his family. Now, his charge now, he got 3 misdemeanors originally. That got upgraded to a level 5 felony charge for battery involving serious bodily injury. Now, this charge can carry a prison term of 1 to 6 years and a fine of up to $10,000 in Indiana. I think this will get settled out of court, honestly. But you know what's bad? When you're the one that got stabbed, and yet you're the one that's also got arrested and charged. And it looks like it looks like the story is very fluid in a way where he's not even challenging this. Like, I don't know if he's pleaded guilty, not guilty yet for this thing yet, but the way the story is going, it looks like that this guy was in the right. And I'm sorry, what is Mark Sanchez doing? What are you doing? So you're throwing your whole entire career now? You're probably going to throw your career doing this shit, okay? You got stabbed, and you still got arrested. How dumb can you be? How fucking dumb can you be? You know, bro. How dumb can you be? You know? I guess the butt fumble was enough now. So we remember him now for a guy that butt fumble number 1, and then now got stabbed and still got arrested because he was one wrong. So really, really messed up here. So anyway, that will do it for me here on this podcast. Dated October 7th, 2025. I am on X at EJ Christian 7. Check out all the content coming this week. We got a lot of stuff coming for you this week. Look out for that. On YouTube at Earnestly Pod. On Facebook. Not Facebook. On not Twitter. TikTok. Earnestly Pod. As well as Instagram. Earnestly Pod. Until the next episode, we will talk soon. God bless you guys. Talk to you guys later. And see you.